Dear listeners, have you ever considered to call this podcast Pinot and Pixel? Because recently during a fair, somebody said hello to me and asked me what Pinot and Pixel is all about. And the funny thing is, he was the salesman for a famous champagne house. And I was like, seriously? Why do you call it Pinot? Because even in English it's Pinot, Pinot Noir, Pinot Blanc. You never say Pinot, do you? I was thinking about renaming the brand. No, I wasn't actually, because, usually you know that it's Pinot and Pixel, and if not, you know it right now. And in this special episode, it's the weekly update, it's weekly update time, and we will talk about what has happened over the last 7 days in the wine industry. And the focus is on sports, on events, on the Euro 2024, everything that is concerned around it. Usually it's beer, basically, because sports is closely related to beer. We will talk about climate change and things that are associated with that. And in the end, there is 3 different news on the alcohol-free industry. Have fun with this episode. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 174. It's Saturday, July 13th, the day before the finals of the Euro 24. And guess what? England made it to the finals. Actually, only a few people on the planet know how they really made it, but finally they are there. And of course, fingers crossed for beating Spain. This is my personal opinion, but it's England, guys. I'm happy for them. I really cheer for them if they would win. So fingers crossed. And this is also a very good transition for our first news on this weekly update. The Euros 2024 boosted the gastronomy in England very, very heavily. And only the bars in London experienced a £13 million spending in the last couple of weeks during the Euros in pubs and in restaurants. This is absolutely crazy. And the biggest night for them was the night where England defeated Switzerland. And of course, it's going to get more and more crazy because on Sunday, tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Saturday, is one of the biggest event days of the year in sports. But before we talk about this and what we could expect of this Sunday, especially for England's or for the UK industry, for the wine industry, for the gastronomy, I would like to talk about a very, very polarizing ad that Coop launched in England. Just to give you some background, Coop is a big retailer in the UK. Yeah, basically it's a supermarket chain, and they launched an ad on their recommendation on how to spend the finals of the Euro 2024 by buying a pizza and 4 beer and watch it at home and not in the pub where it's hard to see the screen. And of course, this caused some controversy because, we have talked about it, especially the pubs and the restaurants in the UK have been suffering over the last 10 years. There were so many closures of pubs, and Coop launched this ad trying to convince people that they should stay at home. And of course, they weren't happy with them. So what happened is that the chief executive of the campaign's ProPub said, publicans are frankly disgusted as well as deeply angry that the Coop is running this advert. Quote, who on earth thought this was an acceptable thing to do? Who signed this off? It shows appalling judgment on the part of your marketing team and agencies, as well as worrying lack of moral responsibility and ethical leadership. Because, of course, they don't want, especially the pub industry, to suffer more. And right now, it's a huge topic. And I guess in the end, it would turn out that many people would buy a pizza and a couple of beers and just sit at home and enjoy it at home. And I totally get it, because not everybody wants to sit in a pub. And I guess even though they ran the campaign and it might be successful, many people would go to the pub anyway and watch their favorite team to hopefully win the Euros 2024. And talking about what is coming this Sunday of the Euro Finals 2024 is not only focused on the Euro Finals, because in the afternoon there will be the Wimbledon Finals. And do you have any feeling how crazy this summer is when it comes to sports? There is the Euros 2024. We have Wimbledon in parallel. We have the Tour de France. And just in a couple of days, the Olympic Games 2024 will start in France. That is totally crazy. It's so much sports available in this summer that some people even don't know how to spend their time in front of the TV or in the pubs. I mean, it's good. It's cool. It brings people together, especially in the pubs and in the restaurant, not only in the UK, but globally. And as we know, social gatherings are a huge thing, especially when it comes to selling beer and wine, but also as a society to grow and to focus on the good things in life and bringing people together, making them happier. And also for the mood in a society, we should do this more often, guys. It doesn't always have to be with alcohol. I mean, alcohol is a driver, but you can also have fun without. And if not, I mean, enjoy your favorite beer, enjoy your favorite wine. The most important thing is that you come together and you leave the bad stuff behind and just have a good time. A company that is also having a good time right now because they are focused on building a huge empire, especially in the UK, is Carlsberg. Carlsberg bought Britvic, a non-alcoholic company in England, for $4.2 billion, so around 3.9 billion euros. That is a huge sum, guys. And what they also bought is basically the rights to produce Pepsi in the UK. So it's a very, very big deal. And of course, they are focused on growing the brand. And funny enough, Britvic recently declined an offer that was slightly lower than that because they said it's not the worth of the company. It's not in our imagination of the value of the company. And right now they were bought by Carlsberg. It's a very, very good thing for both of the companies. Carlsberg already said that they will have cost and efficiency savings over £100 million with this agglomeration. They also, of course, have this bottling agreement with PepsiCo, and they will even focus more on the strategy with Pepsi in the future. Of course, it will also lead to a growth of the company in general, and that's a very, very big thing. And it also shows that there might be a bigger focus of Carlsberg on the non-alcoholic sector. We were recently talking about the capacity growth in the alcohol-free section. Carlsberg 0.0 is one of the most successful alcohol-free beers on the planet, and this also shows their interest in this direction. Talking about big marketing coups, let's switch over to France. Chateau Malartic-Lagravière, quite famous Bordeaux winery, boost their offer ahead of the Olympics because they say there will be so many things, especially in Bordeaux. Bordeaux will be the city where the football games will take place. And they say there will be so many tourists that it might be a good idea to just offer more wine tourism, more events, more tastings, and just have an open cellar door. And it's a quite smart move, actually. And I was missing that a bit, especially in Germany. I mean, of course, the focus was more on beer, but when you know that there is so many tourists coming to the country, I would have expected to see more offers that are closer related to the Euro and not only, I don't know, your favorite Euro 2024 box in the next supermarket or the next retailer. This is a good idea, guys. But in addition, you could have offered, I don't know, public viewings in the winery, in the vineyard, special offers for tours and tastings, or even, I don't know, when England was playing Slovenia, you could have offered a blind sparkling tasting of the two countries against each other. But I guess, especially in Germany, we are not super innovative when it comes to stuff like that, or we are afraid of trying. We should do this more often, guys. Really. And of course, as Julian Nagelsmann, our head coach, also said, it's a bit sad that we had to leave the Euro 2024 in the quarterfinals because I guess there won't be a second one in Germany in the next, 30 years. And we also have to wait 2 more years to win the World Championship. Another crazy move was made by Maserati. I read the luxury report. There was a news alert. Maserati launches a Gran Cabrio Folgore Tignanello. So what is behind that? Tignanello has its 50th birthday anniversary this year, and Maserati said, hey, we will launch a full electric luxury car that is dedicated to this amazing Italian brand. And I mean, it's such a beautiful car. And for the ones that are just listening to this podcast, it's a very, very elegant car. In that case, it has this dark coffee color and very elegantly shaped. And they have integrated the Tignanello logo in the seats, in the leather seats, and it's just beautiful. And there is just one car, and it will be auctioned the next weekend in Napa Valley. And unfortunately, there is no price mentioned, but I guess it will be several $100,000. Great idea, great marketing, of course, for both companies. And I don't know if you have ever tasted a Tignanello. I only was able to try it once. It's an impressive wine, actually. It's not my price category for a good red wine, but the brand is amazing. What they have done over the last 50 years is absolutely amazing. And if you can afford a bottle like that, I totally get why you like it. And it ages quite well, actually. Another very, very interesting marketing coup. It's a lot about storytelling, of course, but the idea behind is something different, because usually when you're focused on a big marketing coup, it's all about marketing, it's all about sales. And this one has also a good intent and something they want to transport into society, just to raise awareness, especially for women in the industry. There's a company, a brewer's company called Women's Brewers, and they made a beer with hops that were grown on the compost of sexist beer ads. So basically, they bought all of these. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago that I posted on Instagram, where they said, please send us all your magazines, your newspapers you have with sexist beer ads. And then we put it together and just burn it, and then use this as a compost to grow the hops on. And this is what they basically did. And the whole project is organized, is concerned about women working in the industry. It's a female brewers company. The company making the beer is led by women. Also, the people who are watching, this is the beers and the drawings and the painting on the cans are made by a female artist, and actually it's quite beautiful. It looks like, I would say, like the 50s, 60s and 50s, 60s style. It's a strong beer, actually. It's an alt beer with 6.3% ABV. Quite tough beer. Great marketing, beautiful, and of course it has this good intent to focus more on successful women in the industry, and that especially beer is not only for men but also a good thing for women. And recently there were articles talking about a shift in the sales of beer when it comes to male versus female, because we see a growing demand on the female side and a decreasing demand on the male side. I'm not a big fan of dividing demand, especially for drink categories, in male and female, because, I mean, who cares? It's good to put more focus on especially women in the industry, and we should less focus on, is this a drink for men or women? And we have the same issue with rosés, because usually rosé is said to be a woman's drink. This is stupid, guys. We recently had the episode with Tony Parker from the Psalms TV podcast. He also said rosé is a great drink. It's a fantastic drink to have on the terrace, and no matter what your sex might be, just enjoy it. And I mean, there are big rosés as well. It's not only those terrace wines, that fragile wines. I'm a man too, and I love drinking rosé as well. So who cares about the sex? Gender is not the most important thing when we talk about that. Compost, by the way, is a great keyword to refer to climate change. There was a Bordeaux oenologist, Marcus, thank you for sending this article, that recommends the Refosco grape from Slovenia and Croatia for Bordeaux. And there is two interesting things behind that. First one is, 3 years ago, they launched a new list of grape varieties that will be allowed. We talked about that in the pod as well, for Bordeaux blends, especially for the AOC and for the superior category, with Touriga Nacional, for example, from Portugal. And right now, this consultant says it might be a good idea to add Refosco to the list because of its high acidity. And we have been experimenting with Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Merlot blends in Slovenia and Croatia, and it worked quite well just to add 2 or 3% of Refosco to it, because it brings the acidity and it lifts up the aroma and flavor profile of especially riper Merlot grapes. And the ripeness of the Merlot is getting a bigger issue, especially on the right bank of Bordeaux. And if you want to bring a bit more freshness to the blends, you could consider to use Refosco. And the second thing is, and this is quite interesting, so at the end of the 19th century, when phylloxera was a big thing in Bordeaux, it has already been recommended to use in Bordeaux to fight the phylloxera, but unfortunately they said it is way too acidic to be used in Bordeaux. So it was declined to add it to the list. So today, under the issues of climate change and stuff, they are rethinking it. I don't know how often they consider to change the list, but maybe in the future it could be a very, very big thing. And if you have never tried Refosco, it's an interesting grape. It's more a local thing, especially in Slovenia and in Kolio as well. It's not my personal flavor profile, but especially when it comes to alternatives regarding the climate change, it could be a very, very good option. And if it works as a small portion in a blend to lift up the good parts of the blend, why not? Super cool. Marcus, thanks for sending it over. And what also comes along with climate change are severe weather conditions. And usually I only want to talk about good things in this podcast. And I also want to bring more awareness to society when it comes to climate change, when it comes to gender discussions and all this kind of stuff. And in that case, I just want to show you that more and more often we will have to deal with severe weather conditions, not only in Central Europe, all over the world, because of climate change. The vineyards in northern Spain recently were hit by a very, very big hailstorm. And for the people who are watching, you can see the hand of a, I would say, winemaker with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hail, what are they called? Balls, cones, I don't know. And I would say they have a size of 3 to 4 centimeters. This is absolutely crazy. And when you have a look at the vines, they are totally destroyed. I mean, it's like throwing stones on a vine, and usually the damages are not only accounting for this year, but also accounting for 1 or maybe 2 years. And there's even some vines that are totally destroyed, and you have to replace them. And secondly, we have talked about the wildfires in California, and right now the region of Santa Barbara was hit by a huge wildfire, and 8,000 hectares of vines were burnt by the wildfires. And it's not only the vineyards that are destroyed, it's also hundreds of houses of people who are living in the area. Then you have the problems with the smoke taint. We recently talked about that in the last episode, about a good thing that came out of this when people turned a smoke-tainted Pinot Noir into a barbecue sauce. But right now, currently in California, the wildfires are a very, very big issue. And the hotter it gets, the more dangerous it also gets. And especially when your water basins are not really full to use them for trying to fight the fire, it's getting more and more dangerous as well. And of course, also for the firefighters, for the people living in the area, it's a threat for their lives. And of course, it's sad news, but in my opinion, we have to talk about this every now and then just to raise some awareness on that. From burning vines at high temperature to finding the best temperature for your wine. I know it's a really bad translation. I tried my best, guys. There's a company called Manifest Labels, and they recently launched a product, a device for wine bottles called Chillometer. And what it basically does is, it's a small label, it's a sticker for your bottle, and it's made of a material that reacts with the temperature of the bottle and the liquid in it. And we can see it right now for the people who are watching, the sticker, and what it shows is a glass of wine that is black and a word called chill. And when you see that, so the empty glass with the word chill, it says, put me in the fridge because I'm too warm. And then when it starts cooling down in the fridge, when it gets slightly chilled, the bottle, then the label turns into a filled glass with red wine, and the word chill changes to chilled. So right now, you know, this is the perfect temperature for your wine. And when it gets too cold, because the fridge, I don't know, is putting it, it's pulling it down to 7 degrees, the glass changes to blue color. Then you have a blue wine, and it adds the word to. So in the end, it says too chill. So it's too cold. So right now you have to move it out of the fridge again to gain some temperature to finally reach your label chilled with the red glass. And it's a super smart idea. Actually, it's a quite small sticker. I wasn't able to figure out how much the costs might be, but this is a really smart idea. And in addition, especially for the nerdy guys listening, of course, there is different temperatures for white, rosé, and red. And there is also 3 different stickers, 3 different materials reacting in different temperature areas. So white wine is more focused on 10 to 12. For the good ones, they usually talk about 3 degrees where the color and the words are changing on the label. A white wine is sitting around, I would say 10 to 12. I don't know, there were no numbers in the article. Maybe it's listed over here. No, there are no temperatures listed. But I guess it's sitting around 10 to 12 for the whites, probably 12 to 14 for the rosés, or 11, 13 or so, and maybe 14 to 16 or so for the reds. Super interesting, pretty cool. And of course, it's not suitable for every wine, but you can play with that as well. For example, when you say, I have a very, very powerful rosé, I would drink slightly warmer, you could use the sticker for the reds. Or if you have a very impressive white, you can use the sticker for the rosé. And also, if you produced a super fresh and fruity red, you can use the rosé sticker. So it's up to you to work with the temperature scale and just educate your customers, support your customers with drinking at the right temperature. Because, I mean, we have said this several times, the temperature is one of the biggest issues in the wine industry. Usually we drink our white wines way too cold and our red wines way too warm, and we should just switch that, period. Have fun for trying it out. The link is in the show notes if you're interested. The last section for today is the alcohol-free section, and we will start with a company that became very, very famous and very, very successful, or they became famous through their success. The company is called Athletic Brewing, and they made so many things right. And they had a very, very big marketing campaign that was focused on the product, that was focused on social gatherings, a very good storytelling. They installed dedicated shelves in the supermarkets for their brand, and they grew very, very fast. Recently there was an article, an interview in the Forbes magazine with the founders, and right now they raised $50 million of equity in the financing round by General Atlantic. And the current value of the company is calculated around 800 million US dollars. So it's almost a unicorn. The founder already said, we expect a significant growth, especially for the future. And we won't talk about the current value of the company, but it's looking good, guys. And it's also interesting to see an alcohol-free brand with a great marketing team behind, with such a growth. And it's also driving the whole alcohol-free section in general and brings more and more attention to the category, especially in the US. So very happy for them. Good to see brands like that grow very, very fast. Another brand that is focusing on growth is Giesen. We have talked about them as well. Giesen is one of the pioneers when it comes to alcohol-free wine, de-alcoholizing wine. Their winemaker, Duncan Schuler, is one of the guys when it comes to alcohol-free production. He's been on many, many interviews, and they have been experimenting for many years on alcohol-free wines. And in 2020, they bought their own machine, a spinning cone machine, to produce around 1,000 liters. And Duncan said in an interview, we had to upgrade our infrastructure to a machine that produces 10,000 liters a day. It's absolutely crazy. The demand has grown so much in the last couple of months, especially in New Zealand, for alcohol-free wine, that Giesen said we have to double down and expand our alcohol-free production capacity quite significantly. So congrats to Giesen, huge success, and it also brings attention to the category, and it also shows that there's also a demand in countries such as Australia and New Zealand, which was basically, I won't say declined, but not really expected, especially when we talk about famous people in the industry. And I had some interviews at ProWine last year where I already asked, what do you think about the alcohol-free category? And New Zealand and Australia said, I would say something like We know that the category exists, but we don't think it's a thing at the moment, maybe in the further future. We all know what happened over the last couple of months. And last but not least, a company that could also drive the alcohol-free movement is Aldi. Aldi, one of the supermarket chains in Central Europe, they have recently launched a wine under a marketing campaign with the promise that this wine won't give you a hangover. And they are talking about alcohol-free wines sitting on the entry-level price segment, £3 on the shelf. So more of the cheaper category. And when you imagine that there is extra costs for de-alcoholizing wine, I guess you can assume what the quality of the wine behind that product might be. But in the end, products like this are also driving the category, and there is numbers saying around 80% of the market are consisting of brands like that. And it's the same in Central Europe, in Germany, in France, in Spain, where big companies such as Henkel Freshenet or Rotkäppchen Mumm have millions of bottles with alcohol-free wines in the future. Aldi has, I would say, a broader target group for wines like that. And actually, the wines look, the alcohol-free wines, they're branded like wines. They have the Chardonnay on the label, they have Pinot Grigio on the label, they use the word blush for the rosé, because, I mean, people know that. And if you are a person that buys wine in a supermarket, you usually follow your pattern saying, I don't know, I look for my favorite variety, I look for my favorite brand, or both. And I mean, if you're a Chardonnay lover and you're looking for an alcohol-free alternative, this might be your entry-level product to go to. Interesting to see that also Aldi is entering the category, and they are focusing on marketing strategies such as this wine won't bring you a hangover. I wish you a great weekend. Hopefully you won't have a hangover after tomorrow's Euro 2024 final. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the finals, Wimbledon, Euro 2024. And next week on Wednesday, we will talk about the vintage 2024 in the Southern Hemisphere, because most of the vintage reports have been released. See you on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.